Do you think now is the right moment to end saucy pictures on page 3 for good? 0207 862 2222, that's the number. Do give us a ring. As I'm sure you know, several national newspapers used to include a topless woman or a woman in a bikini on the first inside page of their edition. But after years of pressure, the Sun finally stopped publishing topless models in 2015, and the Daily Star followed suit. But it does still regularly post pictures of women in their knickers or in a bikini on page 3, as you can see here. This is from this week, actually, this week alone. But they've now decided to scrap that. So what do you think? Is that just a bit of harmless fun, or do you think that they really should put it in the wheelie bin and forget the whole thing? I mean, obviously, Melinda, you're the person who's literally been there on that page. So how do you feel about it?
Truthfully, I don't really care, is the absolute honest truth, because obviously, you know, I'm not reading these kind of newspapers. You know, I'm in my 50s now. It's so far removed from my life that it doesn't have an impact. But what does it mean?
Picture of you in your,
there we go,
in your page 3 days.
Yeah, which is
Scanties, looking lovely, may I say?
26 years ago.
Yes.
About 27.
And at the time, your mum wasn't keen.
Oh, no, she was totally horrified. You know, well, that's an understatement, actually. Yes, severely.
And why?
upset.
Because she thought it was vulgar, or she thought it was what?
She just thought it was possibly the worst thing that I could ever have done.
And you had worked as an office manager, you had worked as an air stewardess, you were...
Yeah, I was a kind of in some ways, looking back, a bit naive at 27, thinking that I didn't think at the time that it was particularly a big deal, or I didn't really get what the fuss was about. You know, I just thought, yeah, it's kind of a here today, gone tomorrow kind of thing. So for me, yeah, I kind of was not expecting the impact that happened, and I certainly wasn't expecting to be famous, you know, so it was all very bizarre for me.
Well, I remember it, because I remember 1996, there you are, there's been this picture of you topless in the window of an air conditioning shop in Swindon. What was it? Topless-ish. What was it?
It was underwear.
Bosomish.
It was bosomy.
Bosomish, yeah.
It was, as my daughter reminded me the other day, when how hypocritically I'd said to her, "Oh, that looks a bit low cut." She was going for an interview, and she looked at me and she went, "There is nothing wrong with the female form, mother." And I was like, "She's absolutely right."
Yeah.
But yes, so it was bosomy. It was underwear, but it was a local double glazing advert. We won't get into how that worked. I don't even know how that worked. But yeah, it kind of
literally it bounced you into proper full-on fame,
Vanessa,
where everyone in the country knew your name, and still does all these years later, where you presented almost every show on TV, from The Lottery, Fort Boyard, Melinda Messenger this, Melinda Messenger that. You were all over the place, and everyone knew, just on the basis of that. Because, of course, they didn't know you were as nice as you are. They didn't even know you could string a sentence together. I mean, it turned out you were great, but they didn't know it when you sort of bounced straight into fame, did they?
No, I mean, none of us did. I didn't. I had no clue what was going on, and just thought, well, this is the most surreal thing that's ever happened to me. And literally, I think in a couple of months, you know, they were like, "Okay, do you want to host your own chat show live?" And, you know, and it was in Trafalgar Square in a theatre, and I was like, I don't know how do you host a live chat show?
I
had no clue. Well, I just thought, well, I suppose at the end of the day, I'm just talking. Well, yeah, I can talk and I can walk. So, you know, what could go wrong? So, yeah, I mean, that was sort of my philosophy, but I had no clue.
One of the things we could say is that if the Daily Star really does bin these pictures, then all those girls who might have bounced into a life as Melinda Messenger won't get the chance.
I don't think so, because there's other platforms.
All right, let's see what everybody thinks about this one. Darryl, I mean, you're the chap here. What do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking that sort of from a guy's perspective. How do I feel about it? And I think sort of like you know, if you put a gun to my head, the honest truth is I'm probably, you know, if the woman feels empowered, if it's consensual, if it's, you know, all above board, then maybe it's fine. I do sort of feel like it's part of an objectification of women that I don't feel very comfortable with ultimately. And I also think...
Am I asking how old you are?
34.
OK, because, I mean, the time was, Melinda, time was, Michelle, when, you know, you'd go to get your car repaired at the garage and you couldn't see the wall for half-naked pictures of Melinda, Linda Lusardi, Sam Fox and all the others. And you know, you'd go in as a woman thinking, blimey, a bit, you know, but also thinking this is normal, it's the norm, it's just kind of like what guys like, and
Yeah.
and possibly not getting too upset about it.
Well, but I also grew up with with Nuts magazine and things like
Loaded.
that. I would Loaded. Yeah.
HM.
I was sort of like in my teens when those
Have both
were
of you been in those?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you've probably been in a
Loaded,
copy of
yes.
the magazine that I've bought at some point, when I was a teenager, and those are really exciting. And on reflection, the honest truth is they give you a really warped perception of what a woman is and what life's about and what beauty is. And I sort of I almost sort of feel like, chaps, come on, we're better than that. We don't need to. We don't
Just
need this.
clarify a
This is a
little bit.
relief to
A
hear.
warped perception. What do you mean? What do you think you got from those pictures that wasn't true?
A certain idea of what beauty is, a certain idea of what is sexually attractive, a certain idea of what a woman should and could look like that doesn't match reality, and gives you
Except it does. Hello.
But hang on,
with
no,
the
it didn't.
exception of the
no,
current.
it didn't, because it didn't. That
Don't
isn't
offend
reality.
Michelle. Doesn't like that at all.
That's a lot of hair and makeup.
Yeah.
It's a lot of editing and careful lighting, and the hours and hours. So it's not actually a true reflection. And I'm really happy to hear you saying this, because my hope is that we've grown up and we've gone through a developmental stage and a progression. And hearing you say that kind of validates it. So that's good news.
I feel that I agree with you both, obviously, 100%. Bringing up my daughter, she's 13, and 100%, if I could shield her from objectifying women, I could. But it's way worse. Instagram is way worse than any page 3 beautiful girl being on it to objectify women. The kids are seeing in social media the ideology of what a woman should or shouldn't look like, what she should eat. Everything's accessible, way more than that. I feel like it's a shame that we're pinpointing something that's been around for years as an example of how we're going to move on, when actually we haven't moved on at all. It's just got a lot worse out there in different forms.
Tell me about when you modelled, for example, because Melinda's described what it was like when you did. Did you do FHM?
Yes, we did both.
Right.
Yeah.
What did you feel like on the day? What was the whole thing like?
Oh, gosh.
I'd really like to know that.
It was with Jenny Savage. So she was the photographer, well renowned photographer for
her,
Page 3 and a lot of lads mags. And I did it because I did a TV show with Lilani Dowling and Kate Lawler, and the three of us were in latex and had oil, and we were wrestling because we were doing a wrestling show. So it sounds absolutely crude and awful.
While doing it, did you think, gosh, I'm glad my grandma can't see me? Or did you think, hey, this is what we're doing?
I was having a bit of fun with my girlfriends, and I said yes. And it wasn't a paid thing. It was to do with the show promotion for celebrity wrestling. I think it was called. It later got cancelled, hence why. But I remember, just having a laugh with my girlfriends, and it was just fun on the day.
So you didn't feel diminished or...
I didn't.
Did you feel objectified?
I didn't even think I knew what that word meant.
All right, let's go to Susie in Glasgow. Susie, what do you think? Do you think it's high time they got rid? Susie?
Hello?
Hi there,
Oh,
we can hear you.
Vanessa.
Hello, sweetheart.
Beautiful Vanessa, you're my heroine, and I've been trying to get through to you for days now, weeks.
Oh, my gosh. Well, that's very kind to say. Tell me what you think of those sorts of pictures of girls, Susie.
Oh, gosh. Well, I think it's exploiting vulnerable women. And I think to be on page 3 of a newspaper where young children can see it, I think it's really just for men that want to grow to beautiful women's bodies. The picture you showed earlier where the woman was dressed respectfully in white, a white sort of top and pants was beautiful. But why do they need to see women in a newspaper topless? I don't get it. It's,
Susie, I'm so glad you finally got through, and it's been lovely talking to you. Thank you very much indeed. Let's go straight to Rachel in Portsmouth. Rachel, how do you feel about it?
Yes, hello everyone. My point is quite important. When these ladies were doing this, and they obviously enjoyed it and good for them, girls like me who were teenagers felt absolutely suicidal over it, felt absolutely worthless, less than. My boyfriend at the time looked at these pictures every single day with his friends and would make absolutely appalling statements about me, about not having a big enough chest, made me feel absolutely awful. As a teenager, you're so insecure, And, when men are looking at that and then treating their girlfriends with such utter contempt, it's just awful. And no, it wasn't just my boyfriend, because you say he was a one-off. All his friends were doing it. And all my girlfriends felt awful. Awful. It made
Let's bring in Melinda
feel
and
bad.
Michelle for this, because obviously they were those girls, and I bet you had no idea, did you, that this was going on, or maybe you did?
I think it was this. Well, I can't speak for anyone else, but that kind of internalised sort of pressure or doubt or insecurity was also something that I was experiencing. As one of those girls that was considered, attractive or whatever. I didn't feel that way, and I'd also absorbed that kind of societal conditioning to kind of appear a certain way or look a certain way, but never felt great about myself. I mean, I really didn't. I thought it was all a bit of a joke. But so I completely get that and feel and understand. It didn't make me exempt from that experience.
And did you say the same, Michelle?
Completely agree. I mean, I talked about it last time when I was on the show, that I suffer with imposter syndrome. And me doing that was almost a validation that I'm not the fat one from the band, or I'm not the ugly one, or I'm not the joke that everyone writes about. And for me, that the same reflection, how people felt at home looking at the pictures of us and feeling bad about themselves because of their boyfriends or their partners, I felt terrible about myself, and that was some kind of validation.
Wow. And I would go as far to say, and again, I can't speak for anybody, but certainly from my experience, my understanding, that truthfully, I think that had I, and perhaps maybe Michelle, you and some of the other girls that we found ourselves in that situation that we agreed to do, and absolutely, I think if I had anywhere near more kind of awareness of myself and value of myself and an appreciation for myself, I don't think I would have done it, in honest truth. I don't regret it because it's part of my learning and I needed to learn that.
Wow.
But I can see where I was wounded, which was why it didn't even cross my mind that it might be exploitative or unhealthy in any way.
Also, they were different times. You were seeing things, you can see things in hindsight and think how we think now. We didn't think that then. Let's go quickly to Kathleen in Lincolnshire. Kathleen, you found it mortifying when you were younger. Why was that, my love?
I absolutely hated it. I was a young woman. I was very young. I had 2 small children, very self-conscious. My husband was in the RAF, all the lads, were these women. I even went to my husband's work one day and I was in his office. He happened to open his locker and there's a life-size picture of Sam Fox inside the door. How do you think I felt? A young woman with 2 children and he's ogling, this woman.
Yeah.
It was mortifying. It ruined my life at that time.
Gosh.
I can tell you I wouldn't go out. I wouldn't see people. Made me very jealous. Very envious of these girls and very jealous of my husband, looking at other women. I had no trust for him. It took a long time to work through all these things.
Wow, I really appreciate the call, Kathleen. But do you feel any differently when you hear from Melinda and Michelle that they themselves were going through all these body issues and body image issues and self-esteem issues and imposter syndrome? They weren't thinking, look at me, I'm stunning, everyone else be jealous. That wasn't what was going on in their heads or hearts at the time at all.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but if somebody had asked me to strip off at that age and show my body, I would have run 1,000 miles rather than do that.
Thank you, Kathleen, very much indeed.